Welcome everyone to our Emerging Solutions Top 20 webinar. We're excited to have providers, vendors, people from all over healthcare tuning in to learn more about what we're doing here at CLAS, to highlight emerging solutions and inform the market about what's happening. I'm Kyle Chilton here with Adam Gale, our CEO of CLAS. So Adam.
Well, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here today talking about a new thing that we've been working on now for a few years. And I know many of you know CLAS, but let me give just a quick background on why we do what we do and who we are. We have a passion around getting reality out, getting transparency out to the market about how solutions work, what works, what doesn't work. And in fact, just thinking this morning, I went and dug through my old archive of data and found our very first best-in-class report, which at the time was called the Top 20, which is sort of funny as we have, this is sort of back to the future day as our new report coming out that we're going to talk about is called the Top 20. This was from the fall of 1998, and it recognized those vendors, those top 20 vendors who really had made an impact in the market. Although at that point, it was really top to bottom. We had 20 vendors that we were measuring in those early days, and it took us literally a year to get that data on those first 20 vendors. So we live in the healthcare world, we swim in the healthcare lanes, we love and have a passion for healthcare, and every interview we do is literally with these leaders, typically 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes, even longer if you talk to me. I may be a little bit long-winded, but we love the feedback that comes from these providers and what we're able to publish from that in terms of seeing what's real in the market. So the next slide. One of the things that's changed here that we're going to talk about today is this shift to measuring some of these emerging solutions. And this seed was planted by a friend of mine named Jim Mormon, who had been the CIO at OSF for many years and now leads some of the other divisions. But he was on the phone with me and said, Adam, I have bought one of everything in your best-in-class report. Like, I've bought something from every category. And my challenge today is different. My challenge today is I have 400 vendors calling me, texting me, emailing me every week. Some of them just come knock on my door. Some of them send physicians in to say, hey, Jim, we need to buy this new thing for our group. He said, Adam, these 400 vendors I've never heard of. I don't know what they do. I don't know if I should look more closely at them, but I feel like I need a better way to vet those. So if you picture 400 a week, maybe there's 1,000 or 2,000 out there that are emerging players knocking on the door. So CLAS jumped in and said, we can adjust our methodology to start to look at earlier players. And we did that. So we have these emerging technology reports. We published the first one in 2019.
It was 2019, yeah.
2019,
yep.
And it was awesome for us. It was an alpha test, and we since then have now published over 100. I think we're at 130 or so emerging technology reports on players who the first time you hear them, you're like, who is that? I don't think I've ever heard of them. In fact, I can remember a time after we'd had a few vendors come in, and I made a joke that, look, you guys could make up any name and come in and tell me that we're going to measure whatever that is. And the next day a team came in and said, Adam, we're going to measure Carrot Health. And I said, this is really just a test of whether I will believe any vendor name that you come up with. And no, it turns out Carrot Health actually is a social determinants vendor that does analytics and actually does a fairly good job at what they do. So we now have this library of solutions of emerging players that oftentimes most folks have not heard of. And what we do is we look for three things. First, how do we find these players? We want to have software solutions and services firms that are doing something unique, that are solving real problems out there. And that doesn't necessarily come from which vendors call us to be measured. That comes from our discussions typically with the provider and health system who say, Adam, I'm using this unique firm, or hey, do you know anything about these folks? They seem really interesting to me. That's how we get most of the firms that we measure. And then we really look to do two things. We want to find out, oddly enough, first, what do they actually do? I don't know if you've ever gone to a website and looked on it and it says, hey, we do population health, or we do digital front door. And you think that literally tells me almost nothing about what you actually do. So figuring that out is a key priority. And then the second thing I think is CLAS's bread and butter, which is how well do the customers actually, like how do they experience this vendor? How well does the vendor actually do, or the services firm do? So with that, let me tag you, Kyle, to share some of the details on what we're working on here.
Yeah, so when we talk about doing these reports, like Adam said, we've done over 130 in the last several years, and we're looking to ramp that up because, we all here at class, most of us do research calls, and like Adam said, we get providers asking us, hey, have you heard of this vendor or that vendor? And it happens quite frequently. So we really want to step up what we're doing, how many of these we do, so that we can make sure the information's out there. But when we do these reports, it's not just for the provider, obviously. We want to make sure that it's a benefit to the vendors that partner with us as well. And so one of the main benefits is we'll go out and verify what you claim to do. We all know, like in PR, if it's one thing for you to say what you do, but if you can get someone else to say that you actually do that, or you're great, or you're this or that, that's that much more beneficial.
And we love to validate. We love
Yes.
to find out what is actually real with these customers.
So we're gonna validate whether the customers agree or not with what you say. We're gonna validate what the customer says, and so if that matches up with what you say, that's a fantastic thing for you and for the provider. We feel like it's a cost-effective way to get your name out there. We know our brand is out there, and providers they come to us for information, and so if we have you in our system, we have a report on you. That's there for them to consume, and so that helps you get your name out there, helps create some market awareness. It's also a way to start engaging with class. A lot of these newer vendors, you may not have enough customers to be fully verified to be involved in the best in class program. But if you're up and coming, if you have 10, 12, 15 customers, it's a way to get that early rating, let people know what you're doing, and start that engagement with class. And then with everything that we do, we get the customer experience. We can let you know how your customers feel, where the strengths are, what the pain points are. So it's a great opportunity for you to learn and improve. And in fact, with the reports we do, we actually do what we call a data review. We'll sit down with you after the report is published and go through the data in depth, share some of our best practices with you. So it's a great opportunity for the vendor to learn from the customers and some of the best practices we've established here at class, doing this for 25, 26 years now.
And by the way, we love to high five on those solutions that have done really well in areas where you've done really well, but we'll also be incredibly candid on those areas that have some room for improvement. So if you're hoping this will just be a marketing puff piece, it will not be that, but it will be, if you've really delivered well for your clients, it will be a validation of the things that you've done and an opportunity to fix anything that hasn't been quite as good.
Exactly, yeah. And we find even with the highest scoring vendors, there's always opportunities to improve. So we definitely want to share those things. And then the last part, investors have access to the reports that we publish. So if you're in the market for trying to get more investment, we have plenty of investment firms and individuals that come to class for information. And so not only will your information be out there for providers, but also investors. And so who's eligible? You might be sitting there thinking, am I eligible for one of these spotlight first look reports with class? Adam, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this could be any vendor that is doing something that is innovative.
Right.
It is typically something that's disruptive. So if you're doing something that's been done for 30 years, in fact, we had a vendor come to us the other day who said, look, we're the first ambulatory EMR that was built by physicians for physicians. And I almost had a hard time not chuckling because I've heard that tagline literally for 25 years. And so we really are looking for those things that are innovative. And one of the biggest shifts is historically you had to have 15, 20, 30 clients live and us to talk to most of them. Now you have to have at least 5 clients so we can start to measure what's the early sense. And I can tell you, I chuckled as I saw one of our first reports. I went back to our team and I said, we've only talked to 5 clients. Like, is this really enough meat? And they said, well, they only have 6. And I thought, well, I think we've talked to just about everybody. That's a great early sense of how this vendor is doing. So typically just something we haven't measured in the past is something that would be on the radar, especially if providers are asking about it.
Yeah. And so just looking at these reports, and I want to throw in as well, if you're an established vendor, already have a relationship with class, we also like to highlight if you have a new product coming out, we want to highlight those as well. And even if it's in the early stages, you have, like Adam said, 5 or 6 customers, we can still do a report on that as well, because we want to make sure providers have all the information they need to make informed decisions.
Yeah, we know new companies are not the only ones that are doing intriguing, interesting, emerging stuff. So again, if there are existing vendors we work with that have something that feels like it's tangible, that clients would recognize what they're working on, we would love to highlight those emerging things from existing players.
Exactly. And just to give a quick overview of what one of these reports might look like. So you can see on the first page there, we validate using mostly customer commentary. We do allow the vendor to have some information in here. You'll see that on that third page, but we use customer commentary to validate what the vendor does. And then we take all the data we collect, the numeric data, and give you some grades. So we highlight key areas like executive involvement, integration. We ask everyone that we talk to, would you buy this product again? And we highlight that here in the report as well. We also give the vendor an opportunity to say, here's our key features and functionalities. And then we go out and ask the customers, are you using this particular feature or functionality, yes or no? So we can validate how many of your customers are actually using the different things that you claim to have.
In fact, a lot of providers I've talked to, and one yesterday said, I want to know if I'm the first that's using this thing. I know that there's other people that are using other slices, but am I the first that's using this piece? Because I'm not sure I want to be the alpha test on that.
Exactly. So we'll verify all those things. We verify outcomes. So we ask, what outcomes did you expect to get from this solution? Were there any unexpected outcomes? And then the provider can say yes or no, I was able to achieve those, or I'm not quite there yet, and we'll include those things in the report. And on that second page, we highlight, using customer commentary, the strengths and opportunities. So we go through and analyze all the commentary and let you know here in the report, like this product or this solution does really well in these key areas. And like we talked about before, there's always going to be some opportunities. And so we point those out and make sure that those are clear so that anyone considering the solution can have some good information to go off of. And then that last section in the middle there is the points to ponder, where we bring in additional information, whether that's from experts here at class, other comments from the provider, some things from the vendor to compare and contrast. So that's kind of a sort of a customized section, but we're working on that we just want to make sure that there's that much good information out there about the vendor. Then that last page is kind of a unique thing for classes, where we give the vendor an opportunity to say what we do, why we do it, how we do it, and then some information about the company and that left sidebar there. And then at the bottom, we let you tell us what your solution is built on, the technical capabilities. So that way a provider can come to this and say, this matches what we're trying to do, or maybe it doesn't, and then it just gives them that much more information to go off of and to make a good decision.
We hope that in 5 minutes they can have a sense of, is this worth digging into more or not? Does this map to what I'm trying to do?
Right, it's a great place for someone to start to really consider a product. And so moving forward, so like we talked about, we've done a bunch of these reports. We want to do a lot more. And one of the things we want to do is say, okay, we've done all these reports, but what more can we tell people about it? And so we've brought the top 20 back. Adam showed you that report from 1998, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So we're bringing that here to the future, and we're doing an emerging solutions top 20 recognition, and we're going to publish a report in a few weeks, recognize the winners at our Digital Health Investment Symposium. But what that is, we brought together a group of 16 C-level providers who have, that read the reports and evaluated them based on the quadruple aim of healthcare. And here's that group. You might recognize some of those names. So well-respected people from all over healthcare, all over the country.
But clinical, financial, some CEOs, some CIOs, folks with different backgrounds, to help really assess how impactful can these solutions be and how scalable are they? Is this something that really could move from one health system to the next and help solve bigger problems? So taking the combination of the performance data from clients and then the perception data from these leaders in the industry, we think there's a really nice combination of what solutions should you look at potentially more proactively.
Yeah, and so that report, and these are the categories we asked them to rate them on. The report brings together 43 of these reports, these emerging technology reports, and the way we decided to, anyone that was high performing, so had an overall class score of 85 or above. And then, like we said, they read those reports, they rated them on these particular categories, and we'll have the top 5 in each category will be recognized as the top 20. And like I said before, we'll be recognizing them at the Digital Health Investment Symposium here on September 13th and 14th here in Park City, Utah. And we'd still love to have more people come. We have a great group of providers, vendors, as well as investors that are coming to that, and registration is still open. We'll put a link in the chat if you'd like to learn more. But Adam, anything you want to add about the Digital Health Investment Symposium?
No, it's a very energetic group. I like to call it a mini JP Morgan, where you take, instead of the 10,000 people running around San Francisco, we get together. There's about 250 leaders, partners in these investment firms, innovative vendors, strategic vendors, and then a bunch of providers who are highly interested in these emerging spaces. So it is one of our more energetic symposium.
Awesome. And here's some of the topics that will be discussed. So anything from payer provider, staffing, which we know is a huge issue right now, value-based care, prior authorization. Those, we'll be discussing all the topics here. Have some great speakers, some great breakout sessions. So please, if you'd like to learn more, visit that link that we're putting in the chat, and reach out if you have any questions. With that, we've covered everything about emerging technology, about the top 20, about the Digital Health Investment Symposium. Now we'd like to open it for Q&A. So if you'd have any questions, put those in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions that we can.
And can I throw out a question that came to me yesterday?
Please do.
From our advisory board, they said these spaces move so fast. Like you get another client, you pivot the direction you're going. Like there's just so much fast movement in this space. What happens after someone does an initial kind of emerging technology spotlight? Like where does it go from there? How do we think about that?
So the spotlight, obviously it's available for any provider to get access to learn from. And then those vendors that partner with us, we want to keep them engaged with class. And
we want to know, okay, what happens? Like what happens with customer number 6, 7, 8, 9?
Yeah.
How does that pivot go?
Yeah. So we're going to collect more information. We want to keep collecting information. We want to share that back with the vendor so they can continue to improve and let customers know how things are going.
And one of those that I thought was interesting, and some of our very early reports were around social determinants of health. So we did one vendor that was of interest and another vendor that people have been asking about. And then once we have enough, we actually create a market segment within class. That's something we're going to be measuring ongoing. And we think many of these emerging solutions will end up in this best in class report over time, but some will not. So some are not going to make it. Some won't make the pivot. Some will be acquired. There's all kinds of things that happen quickly. So we do like to do, I don't know what we'll call it, a second look.
Yeah.
Whatever that's going to be, of like what's happened in the last year since the first look.
Yeah, we're developing kind of a second look, report where, say we rated you in 2021 and now it's end of 2022 and maybe you've changed some things. We'll look at you again. If you're not already in a market segment, we'll look at you again and then potentially do another report. So because we want to keep letting people know this is what this vendor's doing, this is how they're developing. So with that, we do have
questions. It looks
like. Let me pull those up. Okay. So the first one, does showing up to the conference have any impact on whether you win the award? Will the judges be present at the conference? So the answer to that first part is no. Obviously, if you won the award, you won the award. And if we would love to have you there, we'd love to meet with you and give you that recognition in person. But whether or not you show up has no bearing on whether or not you get the award. And then
so we could do that at HLTH. That could happen on site at your place. If you come to class for a deep dive, we could award it to you there. This is definitely not a, hey, if you pay and show up, you get the award. You're recognized regardless.
Right, and then will the judges be present at the conference? I think a few might be. I think a few have registered, but obviously a lot of them are busy, managing their own facilities as in their roles. So some will be there, some will not.
One of those that will be there, John Halamka, is one of the judges, and he will also be one of our keynote speakers on Wednesday morning at the DHIS Summit. So right. we will have a lot of folks that are passionate about this topic there.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, it looks like that's it. We really appreciate everyone who tuned in. Please visit the class website, check out these reports. If you have questions, reach out to us. If you have a class contact, please reach out to them, and they can direct your questions to the appropriate person in the class. But we would love to, meet with more and more vendors. We want to get more and more information out there. So please feel free to reach out, and we hope to see some of you at the symposium in a few weeks.
And keep pushing the envelope. The market needs you to be great, and we'll keep shining a light on those that are. So thank you and congratulations.